Right, hello guys, Jack here from Peach Guitars. Today I'm going to walk you through some of the offerings from our friends at Kingtone Pedals, but with a little bit of a twist. I want to play these guitars with a humbucking pickup. I think everybody by this point knows how great these pedals can sound, and indeed were designed to sound with single coil guitars, but I want to plug a humbucker loaded Gibson ES-335 through these pedals and show you just what a great humbucker can do with some classic designed fuzz and overdrive pedals. But before I do so, before I get into it, let me please remind you to give this video a like, comment down below with what your thoughts are on Kingtone pedals and which one of these particular pedals I'm going to show you today is your personal favourite. And remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel as well if you haven't done so already. Okay, so as I say, this video is with a little bit of a twist, intentionally. We have previously filmed videos on the channel before where John gave a very detailed walkthrough of each of the pedals in the Kingtone lineup as of early, I think it was 2019. So there's a couple of new pedals here that I'm going to talk you through as well. But John used a Strat in that video. I think a lot of players that look to Kingtone pedals are predominantly Strat players. That's kind of what they're best voiced for in a lot of people's opinion. They're certainly takeoffs of a lot of classic designs that were used by players that famously favoured single coil pickups. But I just want to try and make the case here for how good a humbucking guitar can sound with classic fuzz pedals and overdrive pedals. Obviously that's a huge segment of the guitar market that I think perhaps has been a little bit overlooked in the past, so I want to make the case for that today in this video. Kingtone pedals, for anyone who is not aware, are a fantastically high-grade boutique brand that are really just pioneering the way in recreating, and not just in terms of cloning, but they are recreating with a modern twist a lot of these classic designs, all the way from overdrive pedals such as Tube Screamer style circuits to several different variants of classic fuzz face inspired classic germanium and silicon fuzz units. These are 10 a penny on the market generally, but with the Kingtone stuff I think the quality is just that next level up, and the attention to detail from head designer Jesse Davey, who is a fantastic guitar player himself and has long used all these vintage component pedals and things like that. He's got an expert knowledge and a real player's touch on these things that make them that little bit extra special, in my opinion, and I think in the opinion of a lot of other people who have heard and played these pedals. So with that said, let me just give you a quick walkthrough of each pedal, what I personally really like about each one and what I think they're good for. And as I say, all the tones you're going to hear in this particular video today are going to be played on a 335 with humbuckers. I really like playing fuzz and overdrive pedals with humbuckers. I think that you can get just as dynamic a tone out of a humbucker. Obviously it's a slightly different approach, and as I get into the nitty-gritty of each of these pedals I'll explain why I particularly like it using it with a humbucker guitar as opposed to a single coil. Okay, quick disclaimer, there is one omission from the Kingtone pedals lineup today, that is the Blues Power Overdrive. Unfortunately it's very rare that we have the full stock of the entire Kingtone range, so unfortunately we've had to do this video today without the Blues Power. But if you want to find out more about that pedal, as I mentioned before, John has already filmed a Kingtone overview video that pedal features in, so if you want to find out more about that pedal you can do that there. You can also pre-order one for yourself by going to peachguitars.com if you want to do so. Okay, so I'm using a 335 for these demos today, as I mentioned. Obviously this principle applies to any humbucker equipped guitar. You can really get great results providing you're not using active pickups or pickups with too high of an output with these classic fuzz and overdrive designs. They're really just as dynamic as single coils if you know how to use them properly, and I actually think that there's certain merits to particular pedals over other pedals when you're using predominantly humbuckers as opposed to single coils. It's just different flavors and different kind of feels. Hopefully this video will get across the differences between single coils and humbuckers with these kind of classic circuits. All the pedals today are running straight into a Dr Z Maz 38. I've dialed in a healthy amount of breakup and also a healthy amount of reverb for maximum vintage tone. Alright, so starting off with the Octaland Mini. This is Jesse Davey's take on the Octavia circuit. Again, a lot of brands over the years have tried to recreate that deceptively simple pedal design. What an octave fuzz like this will give you is actually, surprisingly enough, quite a clean octave sound if you want that. If you have the drive setting quite low, which I have done in this clip today, it's a very dynamic kind of a sound. It's one of my very favourite guitar effects of all time because it's really, really expressive. You don't actually have a whole lot of fuzz behind you if you don't want it. These pedals also stack very well with other fuzz pedals and drive pedals. It really shapes the character of the tone. But obviously the primary use for something like this is to get that high octave. However, Jesse has kind of manipulated the design to make it more versatile. You've got a 3-position voicing switch which affects the kind of overall shape and response of the fuzz tone. You also have, interestingly, at higher gain settings, you still have more of that pertinent octave in there if you want to. Sometimes this type of pedal, you lose the octave the higher you turn up the fuzz. He's purposefully designed this to not be the case where you lose the octave at the higher end of the range. And also you have a mix control for that upper octave frequency. So if you want to dial it out and you just want more of a classic standard fuzz tone, you can just dip back the mix and gradually blend in the amount of the upper octave that you want in your tone. Okay, so onto the mini fuzz. This particular one is the Germanium. I'm going to talk about the silicon version as well. There's long been debate among guitar players who are kind of fuzz face and classic fuzz enthusiasts about the benefits of Germanium or silicon transistors. The nice thing with the Kingtone pedal lineup is that the circuit remains exactly the same between the two. The only real difference is in the transistors, so you can just pick whichever one you prefer without any level of compromise. This, in my opinion, is one of the very, very best compact fuzzes that you can get, not only because it's very much designed with a vintage sensibility, but it takes those classic tones, in this case designed around two NKT 275 Germanium transistors, and just throws in a few of the modern quirks that guitar players are looking for. So, for example, true bypass operation. This huge volume control will actually give you a lot more output and headroom than most traditional fuzz pedal designs would do. You have that similar 3-position voicing switch that carries over from the Octal I talked about before. In the right-hand mode, the vintage mode, that sounds most like a classic fuzz pedal. In the middle, though, you've got this zonk mode, which is a takeoff of a very peculiar, I believe, late 60s fuzz that Jesse's kind of implemented the voicing of into this pedal. It takes on a little bit more of a tone bender, kind of a trashy kind of a sound. And then you've got the standard fuzz level control and, very usefully, a bias level control as well. So this is very much a plug-and-play kind of fuzz. The Germanium variant is incredibly dynamic, and you'll notice when I turn back the guitar volume, it does clean up, it adds some of that clean sparkle is obviously more emphatic on a single coil guitar, but I think there's benefits to using it with a humbucker guitar as well. You can get some very interesting small cranked Fender amp kind of tones by using this fuzz pedal and just turning back the guitar volume. Okay, so the silicon version is pretty much exactly the same as the germanium version I just talked about. The silicon transistors in this particular pedal are BC183s, which I think are a little higher gain. They have a little bit more sizzle and edge to the tone. I actually really like silicon fuzz, early fuzz type pedals like this. I think it has a little bit more of a dramatic impact on the tone. It doesn't clean up quite as well as a germanium does, but I actually like that element. When you turn down the volume, it still remains a little bit nasty and a bit raspy. It's still very dynamic though, and you've still got those 3 positions of different voicings on this pedal to give you different options. So it's just a different flavour of the classic mini foot style compact fuzz unit. Whether you prefer germanium or silicon, there's an option for either. Okay, so sticking with the last of the compact series of pedals, this is the brand new Soloist, which you'll have hopefully recently seen. We did a video where I kind of talked through my first impressions of this pedal. Playing it again today, they're very much unchanged. I played it before with a single coil guitar. As I said, today is all about using it with a humbucker. This pedal is exceptionally good at recreating the kind of classic tube screamer vibe, but with a lot of necessary tweaks, I feel. Using this body control, you can really bolster up the low end that you would typically lose with a tube screamer style overdrive, so it doesn't sound thin, doesn't sound too nasal. Again, you have a 3-position voicing switch, which I used in both the stock and the glass mode, which adds a little bit of pre-gain high end, so it adds a lot more clarity and openness, which really benefits a humbucker. I've also used this today with a little bit of a higher gain tone than you might expect from a usual tube screamer style pedal. Less of a boost, more of a standard overdrive. I think it sounds really gorgeous. It really melds well with an amp that's just at breaking point. And with a nice humbucker pushing this, it just sounds really smooth and very dynamic and still nice and classic as well. Okay, so picking up where the Soloist leaves off leads us to the Duelist. This pedal is actually the new version 2 of this pedal, which has just come out. Basically, the most significant changes to it are now top-mounted jacks and the ability, similarly to the Soloist, to run this pedal anywhere from 9 to 18 volts for increased headroom. The tones, though, within remain largely unchanged. It's very much a well-tested design that doesn't need any changing. In my opinion, this is kind of the overdrive pedal to end all overdrive pedals. It's my personal favourite. I have it on my own board, and if you're looking for just a pedal to push either a clean amp sound or an amp with a little bit of gain to it already, like we got today, this pedal is just magic for that. You've got the heavy hand side, which is kind of a takeoff of an old Marshall Blues Breaker design with a few significant tweaks, but it's largely based around that, which is to say a very dynamic, open amp-like sound. I think this sounds a little bit better for if you want to use it as a higher gain, standalone kind of overdrive pedal, compared to the string singer side, which is where the Soloist gets its influence, which is more of the classic tube screamer side. It's got a little bit of a stronger mid-range, a little bit more compressed. I've actually used it today as more of a low gain boost. This is also the pedal that we use in most of the listings that we do and most of the Peach videos that I do where I'm using an overdrive pedal. I'm usually using this for either one of the sides because it's just got the perfect voicing to kick an amp over the edge. And of course you can combine the two, and that kind of gives you all the gain options that you could ever want to have in one pedal. Same thing with the 3-position voicing switches, global tone for each side and an output volume. Really simple. You've got a few dip switches to play with as well, but just straight out of the box, this version 2 of the Duelist is pretty much all the overdrive pedal you could ever need. Okay, so another one of the fuzz pedals from Jesse Davey is this, which is the vintage fuzz. Larger pedal format, obviously. Actually surprisingly simple on the surface, but this is kind of, and was for a long time, the flagship fuzz model from him. In my opinion, this is kind of the most versatile take on a Germanium classic fuzz you'll get, because you've got two different sets of Germanium transistors, NKT 275s, which is the classic fuzz face type thing, and AC 128s. And nerd talk aside, basically you can just switch between each pair of these transistors and find different variants of Germanium fuzz voicings. Pretty unique to be able to switch transistors on the fly like that. You can also bias the pedal via this little mini pot on the front here. I think this actually sounds a little bit bigger than the mini fuzz. Similar though in the terms of the quality and the kind of voicings that you get out of it. Humbuckers work particularly well with this, I think, for that real trashy Neil Young kind of a sound. And you'll notice in the video I do up the gain from halfway to fully cranked, and you'll hear the dynamic shift. When you turn this up full, it basically just explodes and does that classic blooming thing that a lot of people are looking for from their fuzz tone. It is just worth pointing out, as well as a bit of a disclaimer, that this pedal runs on center positive power, as does the Germanium mini fuzz, and I believe so does the Octal Mini. So just be wary of that when you're trying to implement these pedals into your pedal board. Just be very careful about how you power them up. Battery power always sounds the most dynamic, a little bit smoother, and is obviously safer for these pedals if you're in doubt. Okay, so the last pedal I'm going to talk about today is not a fuzz or an overdrive pedal. This is the brand new venture for Kingtone into the world of modulation, and it's obviously the most classic form of modulation in terms of guitar pedals that there ever has been. This is his take on the Univibe circuit. Again, I've recently done a demo of this pedal with single coil pickups. Using it with humbuckers today, I'm reminded of just how musical this effect can be. Rather than just focus mainly on the Univibe chorus sounds that most people go for, I wanted to really play around with the vibrato circuit. Using this at more subtle settings really adds a lot of life to a cleaner humbucking tone. You get a lot of dynamics from the guitar. I've kind of set the amp, as I say, at more of a moderate breakup sound, and just with a little bit of vibrato, this really comes alive and adds a lot of life and watery goodness to the notes. As you crank it up, it kind of takes on more of a Leslie speaker type of a character. And I'm also going to show you the chorus mode on the A channel for more of that classic Hendrix kind of a thing, but with humbuckers again it's got a different life of its own. Really versatile vibe pedal, and the great thing is I love the natural ramping between the settings. So when you do increase a control, whether it's the rate or the depth, it naturally ramps up to it, which sounds very, very analog, very natural, and it's just a great way to use this kind of effect with any kind of guitar. That's it for today. If you want to find out more information about Kingtone pedals or any of the other products I'm showing you in the video today, head to peachguitars.com, check out the full range of Kingtone pedals that we've got. If you want to pick one up for yourself, head to the website and you can do so. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Please give us a like, comment down below with your thoughts, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.